Today on Jasiri, we mark International Women's Day, which is marked on March 8th annually. It is a day to recognize the resilience, strength, and achievements of women everywhere. But can we be honest? At the current rate of progress, full gender equality won't be achieved, some say, until 2158. That's 5 generations from now. Are we really willing to wait that long?
This is why the theme for this year is Accelerate Action, because waiting over a century is parity. For parity is simply not an option. Women still face wage gaps, leadership exclusion, gender-based violence, and digital inequality. Focusing on the need to accelerate action means taking swift, decisive steps to dismantle these systemic barriers now, not later.
We need increased momentum, urgent policies, and real investments in women's education, businesses, and safety. Gender equality isn't just about fairness, it's about economic growth, stronger communities, and a more just society. When women thrive, everyone benefits.
The truth is that on this issue of gender equality and women's rights, progress delayed is progress denied. It's time to accelerate action. But while we need allies, we need ourselves even more. When women stand together, they are an unbreakable force, and that is why society has worked tirelessly to divide them, to pit us against one another, to make us see each other as rivals instead of allies, and to ultimately break the bond that keeps us from discovering our greatest strength, which is sisterhood. Because a united sisterhood is a revolution waiting to happen.
Now, International Women's Day and Women's Month is not just about handing out flowers and raising a toast. It is about amplifying a woman's voice, adjusting a sister's crown, and uplifting a mother's weary shoulders. It is about action, transformation, and legacy. It is about ensuring that no woman ever has to shrink herself to be accepted, that no girl is ever made to believe she is too ambitious, too opinionated, or just too much. It is about leaders, women who will not just occupy seats of power, but redefine them and not be silenced. Women who will not step down for the comfort of others, but rise up for the future of all.
It is about true sisterhood, women defending and not dismantling each other. Women who will correct but never condemn, uplift but never undermine, support but never sabotage. Women who will stand firm in every space, knowing that their voice belongs there. It's about continuous collective action to raise bold, brave, and courageous women who will shape the future, unstoppable leaders of tomorrow.
Because when you look in the mirror, you see her, the Jasiri woman. She's bold, she's fearless, she's unstoppable. So tomorrow, let's not just celebrate women. Let's stand for them. Let's fight for them. Let's support, protect, and amplify them. Let's commit to ensuring that every woman's voice is heard, every dream is nurtured, and every ambition unstoppable. This is not just a day, it is a movement. It's a revolution. Happy early International Women's Day 2025. Cheers to you, my sisters.
Here,
Go.
You take part, take.
Interesting. Anyway, let's keep the Jasiri train moving as we continue to celebrate International Women's Day. We went on the street to ask how people feel about gender equality and how men and women can align together. And let's see what they had to say.
Because I don't believe in when you say gender equality, because looking at the whole thing, there's no difference between men and women. Because this is the modern age now, right? So what men can do, women can also do it now. So, of course, men and women are equal. So I believe in that.
There is this issue of gender now. You know, the male seems to segregate against the woman. And because of what is happening now, things are costly. So even employment now, women are being sidelined, you know. So the government now, they have to do even more, you know, trying to, you know, give women that space, you know, so that they will be able to, you know, show what they can even provide or help.
As you are looking at me, I'm a married man. You don't expect me to allow my wife to involve in Nigeria politics as of today. Because, why? corruption have erupted every sector in Nigeria. So there's no way you can get into a politics without being, what am I going to say? Without being asked to do what you are not intended to do. Look at for example now, look at the situation in Nigeria Senate. Example, Natasha versus Akpabio. You get me? So there's no way, if, like you now, if you come to me, I must be very sincere with you. If you come to me and say, Mr. Lagbaja, I want this job and I have the capacity to give you the job, but you know what is going on in our society today? You must surrender what you have in order to get what you want. So, ladies or women in our society today, I am not in support to encourage them to join any politics in Nigeria. The only woman in this country that survive all this mess is for those that have leg.
Part of my contribution, there are certain areas that is very, very necessary and important for women to get equal to men, most especially when it comes to area of education. In the ancient time, we were told that women's education ends in kitchen, that women are inferior to men. But right from creation, we were made to understand from biblical viewpoint that women are just weaker vessels, not as strong as men. When it comes to area of women in politics, women in education, women in other areas of contribution in life sphere, it is very, very necessary that opportunity is given to women to participate in the area that men participate. And the area that women should not be given equal opportunity, I'll highlight on it. When it comes to family affairs, no men, naturally men are the leaders, they are the heads of the home. Because of academic pursuit today, you see some women, they feel that their husband are not even, after all the same certificate you have, I have it, that a man should not decide for them. Whatever the man can do, they feel they can do better.
We have so many women that I looked up to. Example, Pastor Mrs. Faith Oyedipo. Pastor Mrs. Faith, she really inspires me. I love her, her way of dressing, her method of teaching, and the way he carries some women along with her. She's a grace to all women.
There you have it. Not in totality, of course, but in some total. Abi, is that in total? Is it the right? Is it the right terminology to use there? But I think it was the second or the third guy who was speaking about the current situation in the National Assembly. We spoke about it, and somebody else has mentioned it as to how this situation and how it's being handled is going to have a lasting impact. And how can we sit here? This is a country where I think just about a day or so ago, they had some kind of event ahead of International Women's Month at the National Assembly, whether it was the House of Representatives or some of the senators. And then we have this situation happening. And then we hear the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria also say what she has to say. And then today also speaking about how resilient Nigerian women have been. How do you accelerate action when there are people who don't even want you to get up to start? How? Sometimes
I watched on social media some women that are clamoring against Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan, and I won't lie, I feel kind of sad because we predicted all these happenings. We know where it's going to go. Is your word against mine? But this thing we're doing a lot of work because I could see some of the people on the streets, what they said. At least men are beginning to appreciate the fact that we can have equality. We are both intelligent. We can bring a lot to the table as much as men. And these conversations that we're having with them, trust me, it took years to get them here. Even though we're not where we're going. But at least I'm very happy that people will say the modern woman will not do this, will not do that. But we are riding on the backs of those who have suffered to get us here. So now the baton is in our hands to carry the next generation even higher. And that's why some of these challenges that women are still facing, we need to do everything in our power to surmount it. Even now, before you say it's men that need education, even women still need education. You are wondering that because you body the situation, doesn't mean your daughter. There was one thing I watched on Instagram where they were handing crowns from, like a burden. Somebody carried like a bag, was putting it on the shoulder from the grandmother. The mother took the burden. But when the woman took it, it was time to hand it over to her daughter. Instead, she placed the thing on the ground and put a crown on her daughter. That is where we need to get to. Women need better education. Because when we continue to speak our ignorance out loud, men will say, look at these people fighting. They can't even find a quorum amongst themselves, and they want to make us listen.
So in terms of, I mean, I 100% agree, and I would also say that in terms of participation, I understand that everything that is happening now is quite discouraging for women, to be honest, but I would not 100% agree with the guy who spoke about women being in politics, right? I was waiting for him to land, and I was expecting to hear things like, the reason I'm not in support of women in politics is because of these kind of challenges they're facing, but instead, he took another route. I'm not saying he's wrong, but I'm saying I'm not 100% in agreement, because what he said makes you understand that there is already a pre-accepted perception of women in politics. Now, when he said that for every woman that is in politics, it means that you have to surrender what you have to get what you want. It means that people already see women in politics like that. Like, they already sold their bodies. And if you don't have connection, it means that you have to have slept with someone, which is not true. And it's one of the things that is affecting us now, because this whole Senator Akpoti issue, a lot of people already have a predisposition that she has already been selling her body. So why is she now coming to complain? So we need to trump that it is not true that every woman in politics that does not have connection has given what they have to get what they want.
I say that where, like Lolo says, it's started. The movement has started, whether we like it or not. It might be slow. It might be a rumble, just a silent rumble, or just a quiet rumble. But the movement has started, whether we like it or not. Women are going to take the center stage. It took South Africa how many years to get out of apartheid? That's a long time. I'm not saying it's going to take us as long for women to take center stage, but it is coming. The wave has started, and there has to be a few knocks along the way for us to get to our final destination where we're supposed to be. Like we said on this table, I think I said it, or even in the makeup room, I said I admire Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan just for standing up, for just being able to be the lone voice in the wilderness. A lot of people were predisposed to say, oh, nothing good is going to come out of this, because they just didn't see a way that she would stand up tall and be the person. And frankly, before we get into that story, I'm just a teaser. I'm not actually surprised with how it has played out. I don't think anybody in particular is surprised with how things have played out. A lot of people have expressed their disappointment, and I think it's a very big shame, but it also shows Nigeria where we are. This is Women's Month, and in the context of Women's Month, in the context of International Women's Day, we have glaringly seen how people at the highest places of power, people at the highest legislative making body in this country, who are the ones who are meant to protect, meant to give us the policies that will move the entire country forward, even if it means you have to give special protection and policies for women. We've seen in their body language, in their mannerisms, and in their speaking, just how valued the Nigerian woman is, and just how transparent they're willing to be about how they value women. And now they've used their poto to stain our white. Anyways, has white's not been stained for a long time? No, this one is new, because when you say you're wearing us white and saying this is Women's Month and you're doing all this, they've been doing events, so that's what I'm saying. And so then you do all the events. It's almost a double standard. That's why I say you use your poto to stain our beautiful white.
No, so it's been stained. They're just rubbing it and making it brown.
Enforcing the stain.
We're getting into hot topics after the break. We'll talk about the latest in the Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan controversy, as well as an attack on the office of the Ikeja Electricity Distribution Company, and more. You don't want to miss the conversation, so stay with us. Yesterday, Catherine asked what next in the situation surrounding Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan and Senate President Godswill Akpabio. Now, after our show on Friday, the Senate Committee on Ethics, Code of Conduct, and Public Petitions recommended that she be suspended for 6 months, effective from yesterday, March 6, 2025.
The committee's chairman, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, who presented the panel's report at plenary, said Akpoti-Uduaghan was guilty of all allegations against her as she failed to submit herself to the Legislative Committee for the review of her conduct. Consequently, the committee presented its recommendations for her suspension on Thursday. Now, here are those recommendations from the committee. 6 months suspension for total violation of the Senate standing rules and for bringing the presiding officer and the Senate in general to public opprobrium. I miss is it Senator Patrick Obayabo? For the Senate to consider lifting the suspension or reducing it, she may have to write a written apology. She may write a written apology to the Senate for reconsideration. Her office is to be locked for the duration of her suspension, and she's to hand over all Senate properties in her possession to the clerk of the Senate. That for the duration of the suspension, she cannot come close or be seen within the vicinity of the National Assembly, including her staff.
Now, the recommendations also include that her salaries and allowances, including those of her legislative aides, be suspended and her security details be withdrawn for the duration of her suspension. Also says that for the period of her suspension, she be barred from representing herself to the public locally and internationally as a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Senate President Godswill Akpabio, who Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan accused of sexual harassment and abuse of power, put the recommendations to a voice vote, with the Senate unanimously adopting the committee's recommendation. Now, before we take a look, one of our Breakfast Central anchors also sent, and might I add that Senator Natasha's suspension is not the literal 6 months calendar. It's rather the number of days of sitting in the Senate, which can enter 9 months, depending on when the House sits. Let's take a look.
Prayer 7. That for the period of her suspension, she be barred from representing herself to the public locally and internationally as a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Those who support prayer 7 say aye. Those again say nay. The ayes have it. Let me thank my colleagues.
This injustice will not be sustained. The pursuit for justice.
All right, so an amendment was, however, made to the recommendations after Senator Ojiuzo Kalu appealed that Akpoti-Uduaghan's legislative aides should not suffer for her actions, ensuring that their full salaries and allowances remain intact. It's important to note that prior to this suspension, Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan had obtained a court injunction restraining the Senate from initiating disciplinary actions against her. However, the Senate proceeded with the suspension despite the court order. We have heard from her lawyer that the suspension will be contested in court.
There have been several reactions to this situation as it has continued to unfold in front of all of us. Our former minister, Obi Ezekwesili, yesterday appealed to the Senate to openly investigate Senator Natasha's claim in a public hearing that the accused does not preside. She had 2 demands. 1, swiftly appoint an independent investigator on the petition of Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan, and 2, elevate the status of the proceedings of Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan by the Ethics and Privileges Committee into a public hearing for full transparency and disclosure. She said, and I quote, "Our National Assembly, which comprises the Senate and the House, belongs to the Nigerian people and not to the politicians of any tribe or status. This is why the National Assembly is called a public institution. No individual, nor collection of individuals and their groups can capture a public institution and use to their personal benefit or advantage. Whenever a situation as the ones involving Senators Akpoti and Akpabio occurs, the lawmakers must understand the Nigerian public want transparency and full disclosure. Dismissing a serious accusation against the Senate President, just like the senators irresponsibly did yesterday, is a democratic aberration. It cannot stand, it cannot stand. What happened yesterday in the Senate chambers, where a Senate President presided over a grave matter involving him, was was partial and a blot on on democracy. It is our public interest that Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan's petition be urgently given the seriousness it deserves to defend the institution's integrity of our Senate Act correctly now.
End quote.
End quotes.
Now, it seems Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan and others had predicted her suspension. In an interview the day after the initial dispute on the floor of the Senate on February 21st, she said, I quote, I know that right now they are planning my suspension. If I'm suspended, fine. It will not stop me from doing my work wherever I can. I have a number of projects in line and I will continue, or I will rather keep serving my people. I'll keep being a voice and I will keep being loved by the citizens, end quote.
Okay, so that was plenty. And
had to
we
lay it
need to
down.
hack that so people understand, you know, the full weight of how it's played out. And this is not the end. It will keep unraveling.
Let's take reactions. Because once the ladies get started, it's going to be very difficult to say, it's a go, it's not a come situation.
I'm curious.
You're breathing, breathe.
Because they said something about her not being allowed to represent herself as a senator. Does it mean that puts a halt to her project as a senator?
I think the projects that she has.
As a senator?
No, I think the projects
Pro-
that she
personal.
has are personal. Don't have anything to do with it. I think she was...
but the
why
thing
is
that
it
she
not
has things, one of the things that I am...
Reactions, please. Because once we start, all right, more news. Now, Senator Natasha has just asked for a chance to speak and was denied an opportunity. This was in reaction to how the recommendations from the committee went down. Senate President moved straight to voting, and the Senate has now voted to suspend her for 6 months. How do you suspend someone without even giving them a chance to speak? What Senator Natasha is experiencing after speaking out about harassment is a stark reflection of the decay in Nigerian society and a testament to how victims are treated and vilified when they speak up. The Senate doesn't even have the power to suspend a senator. Let's see what else we have. Look at how Senator Natasha Akpoti has been treated. The person who allegedly assaulted her was allowed to preside in judgment over her. No real investigation was done. She's being punished in an illegal way for speaking up. I need people to never ask why women don't speak up. They switched off Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's mic when she tried to speak at the Senate, yet no Labour Party, PDP or APC senator, both male and female, could stand up to say this is wrong. We don't have a country. So invariably, the people of her region should not be represented. That aside, the Senate has no power to suspend a member for more than 14 days. It lacks the power to do so. What's a country? She deserves to be suspended forever. What was she thinking in the first place? Accusing Senate presidents of the Federal Republic of sexual harassment without evidence? I support the Senate's 100%. She will learn, she will beg, and her political career is on the line, if not over. Watch. Let her go and beg. And last one, the National Assembly is not a platform for content creation. Hopefully she's learning now. If such an incident occurred, she should have presented her case in the National Assembly instead of rushing to live TV. That's a risk to the integrity of the Senate. Meanwhile, all the other things and the behaviors of senators and all the other allegations, those ones have not been, they have not been crisis and they have not been test to the integrity of the Senate, have they? Ladies, please go ahead.
Please, Senator Ikeja,
Alex, the guy and
the one that actually harassed, visibly recorded. What did I hear the Senate Committee on Ethics and Privileges? I wanted to know what was the outcome. He should apologize. I am really mortified. I am unhappy. We know this is what is going to happen, and I hear the way Nigerians are polarized on this, and everybody is talking. And everybody is asking for evidence. You know, there are so many things that happen to people behind closed doors that it just comes to a hilt. You know, when they say when it rains, it pours. That's your reaction. You might not even predict you were going to say what you said, but you were just pushed to the wall. And I see the way everybody have thrown her under the carpet. They want her to grovel before them and apologize. And obviously, Ma, I am so, I respect you, I honor you immensely. This is a matriarch, and the only matriarch I've seen since all this debacle started who have said anything positive. It's not like we're standing against Natasha, we're standing for Natasha if it was wrong or matters of legality. Yes, any matter of legality can be done. It's matter of, oh, you didn't sign in your name, you should sign in the name of your constituents. You can withdraw the petition and sign and bring back. All those ones are just matters of letters of the law. I think but once it comes to the accusation, the weight of it, it's like asking a judge to preside over his own matter.
That's what I'm saying. It's all shades of wrong from everything. We saw all the comments. There will definitely be the fors and against, but it's all shades of wrong. And looking at it just peripherally, you're looking at it and you're saying this is just a witch hunt. You're just being mean, and you know that nobody from on the Senate will contest or will say
who will
no.
Speak? Do you want to be cast out?
Even the way he dismissed it, doesn't I say aye, doesn't say no. You just know that
and
there
so
will be.
I find that quite interesting because this is such a case that is so big. This should not be a voice vote. I want to know the name. So yes, it was unanimous. At this point, we know that everybody present in the room that day. It doesn't even mean everybody
about
was there.
putting off her mic when she was speaking.
They'll say that from the pronouncement that she has been effectively suspended. And let's not forget that this is the same committee that she won an injunction against. She's won an interim injunction against this committee from proceeding on this disciplinary
I was going to say that.
And you're saying that she's guilty as charged when she didn't even speak. You can just say that you decided to mark her guilty because she didn't show up to defend herself, but you cannot tell her she's guilty as charged when there was not a full investigation. You entered plenary on Tuesday, you came out on Wednesday, you said it's over and done. What are we talking about?
Why did she go to court? So are they telling me now that if you get an interim injunction, they will not honor it? So what's the essence of the judiciary
body?
The highest legislative body. There was an interim injunction holding the Senate, the Senate Committee on Privileges and Ethics from doing anything. Yeah. And they still went ahead.
This is the same country where
what are we saying?
The courts ordered the executive arm to hold off on something, and then they said they didn't hear. It's the same country. We're in the same country, and it's now that you will know how biased the system is. When the one for Alex happened, everybody was dragging their feet, and eventually they asked him to apologize. But now we need rapid investigation. We need we needed him to step aside, but no, he's presiding over the same matter that he's heavily involved in.
Then
let's pause. Like we're not done. We can't be done with this story. There's much more to talk about because there are stories around the conversations to be had around whether or not the Senate itself has the power to suspend a senator for 6 months. We'll pick it up when we come back. And I'm also remembering the case of Senator Elisha Abo, who was caught on camera in a sex toy shop, a young mother who was a staff of a sex toy shop in Abuja. And he was, took some pressure. He started eventually apologizing. And he also appeared before the Senate committee. But what did he say? He said, I will not sit here and listen to you threaten me with suspension. I am a senator like you. You cannot threaten me with suspension. And I'm dragging the internet. Unless I'm wrong, I have not found a single story to tell me that Senator Elisha Abo was in fact suspended.
No. Yeah. We will never hear the last of also those kinds of stories. They are sending a loud message that women, if you dare to push against an institution, you will be shut out. Yeah. We hear it loud and clear. Yeah. Who amongst us will have the courage to want to just throw yourself at their mercy all the time?
You know what's interesting?
And 2027 is coming. A lot of women are so eager, accelerate action. I want to join a political party. I want to be seen. I want to be heard. When you hear this, and you see this, and we have seen precedents, and nothing was done. At least these two ones that we mentioned, Senator Abo and Senator Ekwechi, nothing happened. It's like using a sledgehammer to kill a fly.
They'll tell you that if Natasha apologizes, they too will show some level of mercy.
How long did it take them to apologize? They
were
went
so
through
much
denial and delay.
I know how long it took them to even sit.
That
this one was done in 2 days.
Honestly, 4 daughters. And in our time, when we're younger, you hear things like, if you read the books of the Chinua Achebe, you hear things like, may these happen to your daughters. Not be swear. May this happen to your daughters.
It's so unfortunate that, these people have used subtle threats, they have used words, they have used actions. Now they're using women as weapons. And that's the saddest part of it for me. The fact that this particular issue, not a single man spoke until about 3 women went ahead.
Yes.
and then spoke against another woman.
Yeah.
It's like giving them the impetus. Honestly, that's the new weapon now.
It's obvious sequentially, is she not a woman? A woman that is even on an international stage, and the whole world is watching us.
For me, I think
and remember, the demand is an investigation.
We're not even saying that
impartial investigation. But think about
with
it.
The Senate President stepping down.
There's a point that Blessings made that it took them 2 days to do all this. Meanwhile, if it's to laugh at us and say something about giving senators something for the weekend, if it's to laugh at the poor in Nigeria, it's very easy to do. If it's to pass the budget, it's very easy to do. But when it comes to issues that will make the lives of Nigerians better, the delay. I thought that should be of an imperative. So I spoke to our barrister, Laborso Shoma, yesterday because I know that there are senators who have taken the Senate to court for suspending them. And he said that what the Senate or maybe the National Assembly typically stands on is that the court does not have jurisdiction to intervene in the internal matter of another independent arm of government, especially when it has to do with matters that arose in the cause of deliberations in the chambers. But he also says that the courts have consistently ruled that the Senate lacks the powers to suspend its members for more than 14 days. And there have been a number of senators in Nigeria who have been suspended. Let's quickly give you some of the situations that arose from that. All the way back in 1999, you had Femi Okoronumu Ogun Central. He was suspended. Okuromu, thank you. He was suspended after alleging that fellow senators were planning to impeach then President Olusegun Obasanjo. He was later recalled after tendering an apology to the Senate. Then you also had Joseph Waku from Benue in 2000. He suggested a military coup would be preferable to allowing President Obasanjo to continue ruling as a dictator. The statement led to his suspension due to its controversial nature. Then you have author Nziribe Imo State, 2002. He was indefinitely suspended in November 2002 over a 22 million naira fraud allegation. You have Isa Mohammed for 2004. He was suspended for 2 weeks after physically assaulting Senator Yabo Anishu Lowo outside the National Assembly lobby. Now, you also have Ali Ndume, 2017. He was suspended for 6 months after calling for an investigation into allegations involving then Senate President Bukola Saraki and Senator Dino Melaye. You have Ovie Omagege from Delta Central, suspended in 2018 after opposing the election reordering bill. Despite apologizing for his stance, he sought a court order to prevent the Senate from suspending him, which still led to his suspension. Then Abdul Ngige in 2024, suspended for 3 months after alleging that the National Assembly padded the 2024 budget by 3 trillion naira. And now Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan becomes the first woman suspended by Nigeria's Senate. But again, senators have taken the Senate to court and won against their suspension. Ladies, I don't. At the end of the day, we can talk about the messaging it sends. We can talk about the stance, but this is going to be a very dark Women's Day, International Women's Day, because I don't know what event you want to go to tomorrow that the situation will not be ringing at the back of your head. It is an investigation we're calling for. You so quickly moved to a committee, quickly moved to preside over that committee, and quickly moved to have recommendations from that committee. She has not been heard from. Yes, she may not have given the committee the time of day because she has an interim court order, an injunction. So at the end of the day, there's so much in this story, but what it just tells us is that the messaging is very clear to Nigerian women. And these two things can exist. You can tell us that she behaved badly on the floor. Yes. But you can also tell us that these allegations are so serious enough against the third person in this country that they will be investigated. Yes. Two things can be true at the same time.
Honestly, isn't that what I said it? I said yes. You can take on the letter of the law. That, she flouted some of the rules of the Senate. And if they can prove that, that is amendable. You did this and that. You did addressed. It wasn't even addressed. We just need an independent investigation. If the report of the independent still concurs with the general, with this kind of conclusion, and we all see that it was transparent, it was televised, everybody will hold their horses.
Yeah, because if you televise, and you're just asking for transparency in investigations. Guys, just investigate, but this just looks like you're in a hurry to shut her up because of maybe you're afraid of what she has to say, or for me.
And somebody said that, the Senate is a mature
It's not somebody, the first lady of this, the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, former Senator Remi Tinubu, said that the Senate is doing the right thing and that the Senate is a mature place and they're handling its work.
And not she's now occupying a former senator and also the wife of our president. There is nothing like even says that, okay, if the woman is accusing this person, can we just call for an investigation? But everybody just hands off. Like, is it that you don't like her? Is it that now we can take petty and like, I just don't like Catherine, so that's why I'm doing this. It's not like, oh, she actually did what they said she did. This is what makes women look bad. When you
let's not go into.
And she has. Let's also not remind you, she has resubmitted her petition, signed by her
constituency.
So she resubmitted. I believe in the timeline, she resubmitted before the committee came with its recommendation. So now a resubmitted petition against the Senate President is sitting there somewhere. She's supposedly suspended, effective from yesterday. What happens to the allegations in the petition? What happens to the investigation? And the fact that they keep hammering on the fact that her actions have led to bringing the Senate into disrepute and to questions about the integrity of the Senate. No, it is your response. It is your behavior that is leading to how Nigerians are feeling about the Senate. At the end of the day, it is only an investigation that can clear the Senate President. As long as you don't have an investigation, you allow the story to fly and to grow, and you yourself are chipping away at the integrity of that institution.
Exactly.
Honestly, it's now that I believe that in Nigeria, especially when it comes to gender equality and women, empowering women, we're taking one step forward and 20 steps backward. Because for the First Lady of a country to say, I don't even care all the things she said at first, and honestly, with all due respect, for her to say something like, women, raise yourself, it has gone beyond Senator Akpoti now, even to our young girls.
How do we raise ourselves?
Like, women, raise yourself. Don't put yourself in a position where men will talk to you anyhow.
How?
It just brings me back to, you two, what were you wearing? You two, what did you do? You two, why did you go there? In the 21st century. We're back where we started.
Yes.
I love this that you just mentioned.
Blessings. You couldn't have said it better.
Yeah, you couldn't.
Honestly, I feel so bad.
It's heavy, actually. The conversation this week has been heavy, and you see someone who's fighting against the tide. Forget emotions. We're not being emotional here. Forget sentiments. Let's do things.
And nobody should say that thing again. That women are being sentimental.
In fact, I showed them one of our respected clerics on my timeline, on my WhatsApp. He sent me a lengthy message yesterday after he worked to show that, that it feels like a lot of Nigerians are emotional about this. I understand code of conduct and ethics. We have said it. That if it's on legality or if it's on the law of what she has done, or you could have spoken from this chair, fine. Those are things that can be corrected on without any issue. Or the petition you brought, you signed it yourself. We can do it, and they said she had done it better. But on the allegations on ground, are we just supposed to sweep it under the carpet and just be like, oh, this is the ravings of a mad woman?
Let's move on, because this is a conversation. How do you say it? Do the eyes have it to move on?
The eyes do not have it. No, because I feel like, you know, this emotional thing that you talk about. I'll talk about somebody like a Serena Williams. Serena Williams would be called emotional. Meanwhile, Roger Federer does the same thing, throws his tennis racket on the floor. He's passionate. He's passionate. Terminology matters. When you have women in public spaces who are prominent and visible, and you use words like emotionally unstable, you use words like that they're emotional, that they're too loud, you are sending a message. You're sending a message to women like them, and you're sending a message to the next generation of women as well. The words are not the same. They mean different things when you apply them to women.
And the Senate is one of the highest chambers in our country. So that means the rot. They say that from the head of Aaron down to his feet, when you pour oil, if the head is doing this, what do you think is happening to the other bodies? That is why Lagos is happening. That is why some other places, these kinds of things are happening all over, and every woman, and you are asking why women keep quiet.
It's a travesty, really. It's not, and it's a catch-22. You know, moving forward, you're not coming back. It's all messy.
I want to reference. Sorry, this morning on the news, we had former Deputy Governor of Lagos State, Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan, and she was speaking about this situation, and she acknowledged on the news that she has had instances where she's had to slap men in private. She's had to slap men in private, that she chose to slap them in private and keep quiet about it, but that other women handle it differently. That's a former deputy governor of Lagos State.
And she probably would have kept quiet.
And that's a woman who grew through politics to get to where she is. So I don't want anybody to come and tell me that in any position that any woman is, there's a position in this life that will shroud you, that will shroud her from being a subject of sexual harassment or molestation.
Even saying that women handle it differently, I believe that Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan would probably have handled it, maybe called him aside and told him. But situation demanded it. She had to say it because she kept getting backlash. According to her, like, imagine having to, everything that you're doing is like they're just coming against you. You know, he knows that this is the reason they're coming. So if the lady who slapped had maybe faced the same issue, she probably would have said it out at some point that all of this is happening because of what happened.
And someone would argue that slapping in private, that she shouldn't try that next time. I can actually hear the voice.
But that's what slapped back, and that's what too many of us have done. We've handled it in private situations in private.
I have handled many situations in private.
We've handled it in private because we are aware. What did I say yesterday? Women will literally have to put a camera, maybe in their bras,
in their vagina,
to be able to prove. And even then, someone will say entrapment. Yes, because you know that you are luring them in. That's why you're waiting for the camera, because you're setting them up.
All right, let's go for a
their daughters, I like that quote from one of the books.
Yeah.
May they have daughters.
Yes, may it happen to your daughters.
Exactly.
May this happen to
I'm doing
their
WOSA
daughters.
now.
Let's take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll shift gears on Jasiri. Right, welcome back to Jasiri here on News Central. Let's kick off our next story. So, yesterday, March 6, 2025, armed Nigerian Air Force personnel were caught on video entering the Ikeja Electric headquarters in Lagos, attacking staff. The raid, which took place around 7:40 a.m., was reportedly in retaliation for the company's disconnection of power to the Sam Efton Air Force Base over unpaid bills exceeding 4 billion naira. Now, what we're hearing is that the power cut disrupted cooling systems critical for storing high-caliber military armaments, raising safety concerns at the base. So the attack left at least 10 IE workers injured and hospitalized. The National Union of Electricity Employees has strongly condemned the assault, warning of a nationwide blackout if such military aggression continues. It was also reported that the company's CEO, Folake Shoitan, was also assaulted.
We've had engagement with the Sam Efton Air Force Base, Ikeja, an arm of the Nigerian Air Force, over issues relating to electricity supply and accumulated bills. Solutions were proposed as a way forward based on what they can afford because of their budgetary constraints as well. However, when those solutions, which also went with investment from our own part, were put in place, we discovered that we're denied access to check on those facilities so that other things can happen inside. And those installations were removed. We called their attention to it, had discussions at some point to the level of an Air Vice Marshal who oversees that base generally, and he intervened, and we reached another set of agreements. We implemented our own part as IE, but again, that equipment was disconnected again. When we tried to access the facility, the authorities of the Air Force will not allow us to do that. And so we're forced to make a disconnection of the facility.
They said we should go and pick up our driver's key, the car. So when we pick up the car, it was beaten and they took our phone. Up to now, I've not seen my phone. Up to now. So when they took us there, they said we should lie down on the field with our head on our knees.
There's another video that's also online of staff running for, I think, the back entrance or the back gate to try to climb over. People were climbing the gate.
They were climbing
this is the video, climbing the gate to get over. And at the end of the day, is this a lawless country?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, this is the Air Force. Part of the joint military, the military of Nigeria. People climbing, trying to get over the fence because they don't know how far those Air Force officers who entered the compound could take it. And do we think that these Air Force officers could enter this compound without somebody higher up knowing? If you want to invest, so we talk about, Nigerians talk about their own issues with electricity. You owe them 4 billion naira. They've worked out something with you. You don't want them to enter and check installations, to read meters or whatnot. And then the best thing after disconnection is to come and attack. I don't know.
Honestly,
we are power drunk in this country. Totally,
this has been a sad drunk.
Why,
so sad.
Why is it that our own must be different? We are not the only African country on the planet. We are not the only country that has our own unique challenges. But why does it seem like we take the piss?
I'm just wondering that if our armed, these are part of our security agency, the highest form, can just enter an office. If the office, look at all the staff they beat up. One, many of them were not even privy to the agreement. They are just staff that works for the electricity company. So why are they being punished for something that is
a higher up decision?
A higher up decision.
Besides,
and they've had conversations with you,
and they found ways to work it. Yeah.
So you just enter, beat them up, strong arm them. Is this not an investment?
But you are only 4 billion.
Become independent with independent distributors. So is this still owned by NEPA? That is a government-owned parastatal.
So they should not 4 billion
for their money.
Who pays? I mean, let's look at it.
It's billion or billion.
Billion. 4 billion. Ikeja DC has worked out arrangements for you that's comfortable for you. Do you understand? Yes. And it's convenient for. So, but you keep behaving badly and forcing their hand. And they say
those who behave badly do not see consequences in this country.
Exactly. Who is going to? I'm just waiting. Who is going to speak on this? Is it the military?
Oh no, well here
they will deny it. They will say they don't know those officers that went there.
Statement.
And
they will say they don't know those officers.
Yes.
It's not from them.
This is why
they are hoodlums.
They are going to say they're distancing themselves.
They are distancing themselves again from it, and nobody would investigate. Even the one that is in our faces, there's no investigation. So what's the outcome of this one? Who will protect them?
Anyway.
So if you have fathers, somebody's mother that works inside any of these places, how do you want to go to work the next day?
And Nigerians just, we will talk about it and then glean it and then move on. Yeah. By Monday now, in fact, by tomorrow.
Because something else will happen, Catherine. Yeah. How many things do you want us to worry about? How many things do you want us to have space for? When each and everything we have space for, we never see a logical conclusion. So what you have is a trauma response from Nigerians.
Yes.
Because I think we are too peaceful a people also.
We are.
And sometimes when you are too quiet, someone said something, I heard it said before, when you are too humble or you're too quiet in a room, you are looked over.
Yeah.
Especially as a Nigerian.
Yeah.
So the more we are quiet, the more we are,
especially for a woman, you are very aggressive.
You are very aggressive and you're badly behaved.
And you are loud women's voices irk many people's ears and they turn into disrespect. Meanwhile, it's a woman speaking up because you have not allowed her to speak.
Yeah.
Let's go. As the world marks International Women's Day tomorrow with the theme Accelerate Action, we have to ask, how much does Nigeria truly value its women? Are we accelerating action or just offering empty promises while women continue to face inequality, violence, and systemic exclusion? Celebrating women means more than just words. It means policies that protect them, opportunities that empower them, and a society that respects their contributions. Until we see real change, we must keep asking the tough questions, demanding accountability, and pushing forward. Because if we're not accelerating action, we're standing in the way of progress. And progress not just for women, but for the entire society. Because there will be no progress, no growth, and no success without Nigerian women being afforded the rights we are entitled to. Thank you for joining us on Just Say. The conversation doesn't end here. Have a good weekend.